Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to our World Cup build-up as we get ready for the World Cup coverage. And today we're turning our attention to another home nation. And it's one of the most interesting stories as we go into the World Cup this summer. And I'm delighted to be joined by former Cardiff City defender, Mr. Roger Gibbins, as we discuss England. Roger, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well, Si. Thanks for having me on this channel, and thanks for this discussion. Yeah, World Cup coming up. Excited.
Indeed, mate. It's been a fascinating period for England because I think Gareth Southgate, obviously, when you look at it on paper and how far he got into tournaments, he's one of the most successful managers, certainly since England won the World Cup. But there was some grumbles, I think, about like the way they played and things like this, and obviously they weren't able to finally get over the line in some of those tournaments. And then Thomas
Mm.
Tuchel's come in. Not everybody is happy about that, but I think everybody accepts that he's a very successful manager. And I guess the appointment of Thomas Tuchel is with the eye of getting over the line, isn't it? And not getting to the sort of semi-final, the final stage, and falling short is to try and get over the line. How do you feel about him so far as the manager?
Yeah, I agree with what you say. I think, for want of a better phrase, I think they probably felt Gareth was a little bit too nice, and a nice guy and a good person, and did we need a little bit more ruthlessness and stuff like that in the team? And I think they've gone for somebody that is like that. And I've got to say, I'm on the sort of side of, like, I'd rather have had a Englishman in charge of the English team. I do think that way, as you know. I like a Welshman, Bellas, as in charge of a Welsh team and stuff. I'm a little bit old fashioned like that, but at the end of the day, you got to look a little bit further afield, I suppose, and you want to win the thing. Um, and whilst Gareth, I thought, done a really, really good job, yeah, I think Tuchel's showing, and he showed in his World Cup squad that he's just picked, that he can be ruthless, and he does it his way. He is a winner, and I think that's what they wanted. So time will tell. It's a World Cup. It's not easy. It's not easy to win a World Cup. It's not easy to get to a final of a World Cup. But yeah, the interesting thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, is the squad that he's chosen. But more interestingly, and I've got a team here down here, the players he hasn't chosen in the squad of 26, which is three more than normal, of course. But yeah, I think he's grown on me a little bit. I didn't particularly fancy him as in the job at the beginning, but he's growing on me a little bit, and I'm quite liking some of the decisions that he's making. And after all, at the end of the day, the main purpose is we want to try and win the World Cup, or England want to try and win the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean that's the aim, isn't it? And I guess with
Yeah,
regards to the squad, it is one of them, isn't it? Is if he wins the competition, those decisions are justified. If they
yeah,
go out and they lack a bit of creativity, and you haven't got people like Phil Foden and Cole Palmer
yeah,
there, that'll
yeah.
get criticised. If the likes of Dan Burn or some of the other defenders maybe
Mm,
lack a bit of quality or experience, and you get punished for that,
yeah,
that'll come back to bite him. But ultimately, a manager has to live by his decisions. I had this
yeah.
discussion recently actually about Craig Bellamy. Is like managers have to be stubborn. They have to believe in their own decisions, their own tactics, etc. And they can't keep everyone happy. I
No,
think for many years, one of the biggest criticisms you could throw at England's selections was that they kind of selected on name rather than on form. However, this time around, he seems to have done that, but also excluded some players who were perhaps in form, who deserve to go in many people's eyes. What was your first thought when you saw
mm.
that squad? What was your initial feeling?
My initial feeling was surprise at one or two decisions. Then I looked into it a little bit more, and I've been sort of thinking about it, for the last sort of week. This is a World Cup that's going to last over a month. If you get to the final, if you want to, there's going to be 8 games. You got a squad of 26. Is he picking the best 26 players that he thinks are currently, or should be in the squad, or is he picking a squad not only that's good enough to win the World Cup on the pitch and player wise and talent wise and balance wise, but also experience? And I think he's, now. But then he's mixed it up, and one or two experience like Harry Maguire, who's an experienced guy now, isn't in it, and he's chose a couple of youngsters. Whereas then, he's kept Henderson in it, which to many people would be a bit of a surprise. Can't see him playing many minutes, but then he's experienced and he's been there, and he'll be good in the group. So you hear a lot of this side, don't you? In terms of in the group, he's good for the group. He's good for the experience. He'll help the younger lads and stuff like that. So I think he's kind of tried to get a balanced squad of 26 players. And let's be honest, Si, at a World Cup, 23, 26 players, there's going to be 5, 6, 7 of those players will not kick a ball in the World Cup. They won't. And that's always been the case. So, I think he's gone for that side of it. I think he's gone for, I want the players. I mean, it's a good squad size, there's talented players there. But it's also a squad that's got the Hendersons and such like in it that can help the group. And I don't see Henderson playing many minutes, but I see him playing an important part from the players' point of view, from the group's point of view, in terms of I don't know what's it like being at a World Cup and being together for 4 or 5 weeks and trying to win and get 8 games. They've got 8 games. It's bigger and more games than ever. So I think he's gone a little bit like that. And and you're right what you say, Si. At the end of the day, it falls on the manager's head. It's his decisions. If they're successful, he's done great. He's made the right decisions. But that goes for managers week in, week out. Every team they pick. How many discussions have you had this season with you guys on here, and you're discussing, BBM's team? Should he have picked him? Should he have picked that? And systems and all that. So, but that's a manager's job, and I'm quite excited with some of the players that he's picked, but I am also quite amazed that we have got. I can't think of a World Cup where we have actually left about 11 or 12 players out of the squad that could easily, in days gone by, been in that squad. It's ridiculous the amount of talent they've got. It really is.
Yeah, there was I saw something the other day where it put like an 11 of people who've been.
Yeah. Oh, I've lost your sound, Si. Oh, that's better. Sorry, mate, I lost you then.
My bad. And I think, like you mentioned, Jordan Henderson, mate, right?
Yeah.
My thing with that is, you're right. I don't think he plays a minute, but if he's good in the group, could you then, take him as a coach effectively and give someone like a Morgan Gibbs White a place? Someone who, you're talking about form and you're talking about quality. I think Morgan Gibbs White absolutely deserves a place on that plane. I think
I
when
agree.
you look at like Bowden and Cole Palmer, they've been pretty dreadful all season, so you can kind of understand it. I thought Harry Maguire not going was a strange one because he's such a weapon in both boxes, and he's experienced, and he's never let England down at a tournament. He's always been one of those to step up and show his quality, take penalties, things like that. He's good for the group. So that was a bit of a weird one. And then even, Luke Shaw, who's, on his day, quality left back, has played every single Premier League game this year and then doesn't go. So there's some bizarre decisions for me, but ultimately, like you say, the quality is definitely there. It's whether they can come together as a team. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Jude Bellingham to be the kind of creative outlet, because I look at it, and because they haven't got the Fodens, the Cole Palmers, the Morgan Gibbs Whites, if Bellingham, has an off day or gets marked out of the game, I do worry a little bit about, from an England point of view, whether they'll have the creativity to get maybe the ball into those sort of forward players. But I suppose Harry Kane drops deep and the rest of it. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you with Gibbs White. I mean, Gibbs White is probably the most informed midfield player in that we've got. Full stop, no doubt about it. I mean, he's scored goals. He's been in a Forest side that were a few weeks ago in the relegation battle. They got out of that quite well, and he was a main part of it, wasn't he? I mean, he just came to the party, and he just was brilliant for the last few weeks, as was Elliot Anderson. I mean, those two. I mean, those two in midfield for Forest were dynamic, and and there is he for sure. He would have been in my squad. I don't care who he would have replaced. He must have been in that squad. Gibbs White. I don't know why he's not in it. And you picked on but the others, you're right. I mean, when I'm looking at the players that aren't in it, like the Bowens, Bowen was a bit of a surprise. I mean, honest, but is he quite good enough, at that level to make a difference and win you something? I don't know. But Palmer and Foden haven't been doing it. You're right there. I'll tell you what, Adam Walton, I think, was a bit unlucky as well. I think he's done a brilliant job all season for Palace, and Palace have done well with what they've had, with everything that's gone on. So that was a surprise. And Luke Shaw was the other one, which was a surprise. So there was two or three big surprises mixed in with kind of like the whole theme of what I think he's gone for, and I think that will be if it doesn't go right, I think that will be questioned without a shadow of a doubt, because I think Gibbs White would make a difference, and at the back, Harry Maguire as well, both boxes, set pieces. He's dangerous. I'd have to say, with the centre halves, is he that much better than the other centre halves? No, but he's got the experience, and he's good in both boxes. So that would count, wouldn't it? And and the other thing we've got to talk about is the weather side as well, isn't it? It's the weather. I mean, it's going to be so hot out there that there's a couple of things about the weather. Who it suits or doesn't suit, but it doesn't suit most European teams and European players and born and bred, and just doesn't, because we're not used to it. But also it's how you use your squad. So are you going to use your squad a little bit more than you would? Are you going to give minutes, like as in you wouldn't give them like 65, 70, 75 minutes. You might only be giving them 45 or 60 minutes and bringing players on. So you would use that squad a little bit more. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. The squad is a fascinating one. The manager will ultimately succeed or not by it.
Yeah.
Obviously, do you think after a World Cup semi-final in 2018, a Euros final in 2021, a semi-finals 2024, it's consistent tournament performances. There's definitely the depth there in the squad, as we've talked about, but they haven't been able to get over the line. So I guess the question now, Roger, is this as good an opportunity as they've had, or do you think that the weather and a few other elements means that they're probably looking at a similar sort of thing, semi-finals or whatever? Do you feel like they're genuine contenders?
I don't think they'll win it. No, and I don't think they'll get to the final. And mainly because of the climate, mainly because of the weather. I think if it was in Europe, I'd be giving them a good chance. And I'm leaning towards the South American teams. I'm leaning towards the teams that are used to the heat. That generally happens in World Cups. Not always, I mean, but generally, and we can argue and say, well, they're going out there early, they're going to get used to it. You don't really get used to it in a week or a week and a half. It takes a few weeks or even months to get used to playing in the real hot weather and humid weather, particularly humid weather in Florida and places like that. So, yeah, I give them. I mean, it's going to depend, Si, on their top players like Bellingham, Kane. I mean, is Kane? Kane looks like he's probably as prepared or in as good an order as he's been at any World Cup or Euros. He's had a fantastic season, scored bundles of goals, and he looks quality, he looks fit. Um, does he have a good tournament? Belling. I mean, if these players step up, we got a chance. But as I say, the climate's putting me off a little bit, and I'm looking at Argentina and Brazil, but I'm also looking at Colombia and Ecuador and teams like that. And I looked at the World Cup qualifying in South America, and Colombia, I think, qualified in third place or fourth. And they were above Brazil in the qualifying. They've got some good players, and they're used to it. They're used to the humid, hot conditions. So I'm going to say I'm not thinking England are going to get to the final or win it. I think they'll get through the qualifying. I think they'll have a. But I'm sad to say, unless those big players really do turn up, it's going to be quite like quarterfinals or something like that for me, because I think these teams that are used to the conditions are going to come through a little bit more. And of course, then we've got Spain and France to think about. That obviously, from the European point of view, Spain and France are probably the best two bets in terms of how they do. And Spain, Spanish players particularly, they'll be a little bit more likely to deal with the weather. So, yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they and I'm really rooting that they do produce the best of what they can do. It is a good squad. I mean, I love Anderson. And when you look, I mean, Rice. I mean, when you look at the midfield, Rice and Anderson are going to be the two pivots in midfield, I'm sure. Bellingham's going to be the 10. Kane's going to be the 9. That's going to be your starting point. Then wingers, Saka, and then maybe a bit of a toss up between Rashford and Gordon and Madueke and yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a good team. It's a good squad. I think they'll be okay defensively, and they've got decent keepers. So they got a chance, but beware of the super hot conditions.
Yeah, I think on paper, I think France have the best opportunity. Like they just got this unbelievable squad. But you are right about the conditions. I also fancy Portugal might do all right, because a bit like Spain, they're a bit more used to sunshine and hot weather, and they've got an incredible squad. But on the England thing, you mentioned and I think that's why Adam Wharton missed out, right? Is because that central midfield is so strong. When you're able to put, Rice and Bellingham and Anderson in there, and then you still got Kobe Mainoo to come off the bench, it's a hell of a midfield.
Yeah.
My question, I guess, is, are you concerned about the wide players? Because I look at it and I think Saka just hasn't had I know he's won the league and got to a Champions League final, but individually hasn't had a great season. Rashford, there always seems to be drama about him. He does do all right for England, in fairness, but there's still this sort of talk about him all the time. Anthony Gordon, I've never been fully convinced by personally, but I mean, Barcelona obviously just paid a lot of money for him, so he's going to be happy. Madueke, again, I'm not really sure he's any better than, I don't know, like a Jared Bowen or someone like that. I think the one thing he does, he's got a bit of pace, bit more pace, perhaps. But that's the area where I do think England might be slightly weaker.
Yeah, I think you could be right, and I think with wide players, I mean, going back, wingers. I mean, they're not wingers now as such, but they're wide players, and they have to obviously they do jobs and stuff, but off the ball. But wide players as we know it, wingers as we know it, there's always this thing about are they going to produce, and for me, it's all about the end product. Now, what do they actually do in the game? Offensively. Forget about defensively. I think they'll all be organised. They'll all work hard. They'll all get back. They'll all do their jobs. But you know, are they going to produce chances? Are they going to get crosses in? Are they going to put through balls in? Are they going to make opportunities for Harry Kane and the like? And then that's the other thing is, apart from Harry Kane, who's going to score and who gets in? Do they get in from the other opposite side? So we got wide players. Now Anthony Gordon is an interesting one for me, and I think you're right that. Have you been totally convinced with him? Not really in that, but do you know what? He's grown on me a little bit in terms of he's scored a lot of goals this season. He's got his move. He's going to be in such a great space, mentally, with his move to supposedly his favourite team from when he was growing up. I have a feeling he might be the trump card for England in terms of a wide position, So I would be looking at him if I was Tuchel as like, do you know what? I think he could be the one that's starting, to begin with, because he's in such a good place at the moment. But it will all depend. And Saka, I know you're right with Saka. You look at Saka and everybody raves about him, and he is a good player. But I don't think he's playing as well as he was like maybe a year ago or whatever. And I just think he's lost a little bit of sparkle, Si, and for wingers and wide, but they need that sparkle. They need that intent. They need that to get. I mean, we talk about it with Cardiff and our teams that we support all the time, don't we, Si? Get on. We want you on the front foot. We want you getting forward. We want you, doing those attacking things, and that's going to be the difference, because Harry Kane ain't going to score goals if our wide players or our midfielders aren't producing for him. He's just not going to score goals unless he's getting balls in the box, unless wide players are getting to the byline, pulling balls back and being really offensive and really, really direct. And are they going to be like that? That's a big question, and Tuchel's got to get that, I think, out of them for us to stand a chance, because we're going to, or is it going to be a World Cup where it's so hot, it's so humid, there's going to be not many goals, it's all going to be a lot of sort of tight games where it's going to be a bit slow. I don't know. I don't think that suits us at all. Doesn't suit the way we play. So, yeah, we'll see. But I'm with you, in terms of the wide players. They worry me a little bit in terms of what is their end product and what we want out of them. Are they producing it? And I think there's an argument to say they haven't really been doing it, have they? As much as we like. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, and I think you need a manager as well with those kind of flair players, those attacking players. A manager who encourages that sparkle, as you put it. Like you need a manager who's going to encourage them to be on the front foot when they get the ball and drive at their man and beat their man, and also doesn't mind them taking a risk. Now, in Saka's case, it does feel like Arsenal have become very, very defensive over the last couple of years after being a very front-footed side initially under Arteta. And I wonder whether Tuchel is quite pragmatic in his approach as well. And then you wonder if particularly when you look at like the players he left out, has he gone for more of the kind of the runners, the athletes, rather than the flair and the creativity? Which, if I was if I was an Englishman, I'd be worried by that, because I think in tight games, what usually decides it is moments of quality, moments of creativity, moments of outrageous skill, good defending, whatever it may be. There's those moments. And if you're going to have a lot of tight games, you need big players who can just do something out of nothing. And outside of, a Bellingham and a Kane, I'm not 100% sure that England have got a lot of those now. they've got maybe a couple who will pop up with the odd goal, like a Mainu or a Declan Rice or something, but they haven't maybe got those. I don't know, just those outrageously creative players. I look at France, to be honest, and they've got several of them. I look at Brazil, and they've got Cunha, and they've got Vinicius Junior, and they've taken Neymar. They've got these just creative players who can just, in a tight game, just beat a man and do something a bit outrageous or do something that nobody else is expecting.
Yeah.
Is that a worry, mate, that maybe
so.
Tuchel's a bit pragmatic?
Yeah, I mean that the individuality, the brilliance. I mean, let's be honest. Those who you just mentioned, they've got that naturally, haven't they? So and you could argue that we haven't. England haven't, or it's more in the South American type of, but even France and Spain, they've got it as well, haven't they? So yeah, it's a bit of a worry, but I've seen it. I mean, Saka. For me, Saka's gone backwards a bit, and I think you're right. It's because of the way Arsenal play and the way they've sort of finished the last sort of 3 months of the season. They've been more of a team and more of a sort of pragmatic team, not as exciting, and they can be, and Saka can be, but I haven't seen it so much lately. Which is why I'm really liking Gordon. I mean, I've always, what worries me more with Gordon is the other side. When he hasn't got the ball, maybe, and stuff like that. But I mean, I've always liked him when he's had the ball. He's always looked like he's somebody that wants to get at people and do things. And so I'm hoping he'll have a good tournament. And but I think others have got to step up as well. And just to finish on that is like, I mean, I can't think really when I'm looking at it. I mean, Rice, Anderson, and Bellingham as a little triangle there. I mean, that's really strong, and that's, for me, that's the base of it. But have we got that little bit extra with the front three? The two wide men and Kane and whoever. Yeah, have we got that extra bit where we can get goals and win matches and that? I think we said it at the beginning of the site. It's about winning, isn't it? It's about winning matches. We got to win matches, and England been to the finals, semi-finals, finals, and just when you think they're there and they can do it, just let themselves down. To do that little bit extra, that little bit of magic, or take that chance to win to win it. So, yeah, be interesting. We got a chance, but it's going to be difficult. There's 3 or 4 teams that are going to be hard to shift. So I'll be put it this way: I'll be very, very disappointed if they're not quarterfinals at the very minimum. I'd be a little bit disappointed if they didn't get to the semi-finals, but I think that might be about it. For me, that's where I'm looking at for England at the moment.
Interesting. Right, Roger, I'm going to ask you a couple of just quick fire questions. You just like sort of no one word answers, but just
put me on the spot. I know you're going to put me on the spot. Yeah.
So, who do you think will be England's player at a tournament?
I'm gonna say Kane.
Okay. What is your biggest concern about the England squad?
Biggest concern will be the climate. Yeah, the playing in that climate. That's my biggest concern for them, dealing with it.
Who's going to be the breakout star for England?
Breakout star, O'Reilly.
Who is the most important player?
Most important player, I would say, is going to be Declan Rice.
Biggest surprise selection?
Oof, that's a good one. Biggest surprise selection. I can't think of a real big surprise selection. I think the biggest surprise non-selection was Harry Maguire.
Okay. You just answered this a minute ago, but I'll ask it anyway. Yep. Is semi-finals the absolute minimum?
Well, quarterfinals, semi-finals. I think if semi-finals, you'd say okay, they've done okay, but yeah.
And lastly, very easy to answer. Will England win the World Cup under Thomas Tuchel?
No.
There we go. There we go. That's an interesting one. I wanted to finish up on one last thing. Jude Bellingham. I was listening to someone talk about him yesterday. Someone who had played against him when he was 16 and he was playing for Birmingham, and they were basically saying at 16, everything went through him at Birmingham. He was the guy. He was asking for the ball. He was telling the other players where to go, what to do. So, like, he has got that sort of, the kids would call it aura, but he's got that that confidence and that belief that he's going to be the difference maker. And I noticed that, a couple of months ago, he was left out of the England squad for one of the friendlies, and there seemed to be a bit of, a bit of tetchiness maybe between him and Tuchel. I think, if I was an England fan, I'd be wanting to keep Jude Bellingham as happy and as focused and as confident as possible, because he does feel like someone who's on the level of your Vinicius Juniors and all the other best players in the world. He does feel like he's at that level. And he is also a player who, in the big games tends to turn up. Are you concerned about his form and or do you kind of believe that he's got everything that you need to, do well?
Listen, Jude Bellingham for me, when he broke onto the scene, and got his move to Real Madrid, was probably one of the best players in the world, without a doubt. He was playing, scoring goals for fun. He was playing brilliantly. He had to be up there with one of the best players in the world at that time. I just don't think he's there at the moment with that. He's had a couple of injuries. Real Madrid haven't done particularly well this season. He hasn't played all the games. He had a disappointing tournament or two previous. So that worries me. If we had the Jude Bellingham that we know and love, we would have a chance of winning this World Cup. So, in many ways, going back to your questions about who's the most important, in many ways, Jude Bellingham could be the most important player for England, because if he turns up at nearly his best or his best, it's going to make a massive difference to England's chances, I think. So, it's a big ask, because you go to tournaments and generally you can't just switch it on if it's not been on, and it's difficult to do that. But if he could do it, it would definitely help England's stars. I love Jude, but as a player, I think he's fantastic. He's got everything. But a little bit like Foden, a little bit like Palmer, they're good players and that, but they've not really been producing it, Si. I've got my fingers crossed, because there'd be nothing more pleasing for me and happier for me that if Jude Bellingham, the real Jude Bellingham, turns up for this World Cup and is the player of the tournament, we actually have got a chance, definitely.
Indeed. Interesting stuff, mate. I'm sure we'll speak to you again during the World Cup, but best of luck with it. And I'm sure it's going to be an interesting tournament. It's a shame that it's on so early in the morning, but as we always do with these World Cups, we'll find a way to get through the days and get up early and all the rest of it.
Well, it's all right it's all right when you're retired, Si. I can stay up all night.
That's it. Sleep patterns all over the place then, isn't it? Yeah. Roger Gibbins, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it. Guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe for all of the World Cup content coming your way. This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards, from early access to live event tickets,
bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.